Hello everybody, my name is Pizza and welcome back to my channel. So today we're gonna see a very simple way of implementing vehicle interaction into your game. The type of vehicles that the players will be interacting with usually depends on the game you're making, so it's easy to understand that I cannot focus my attention on the vehicle controller itself. But after this tutorial, you'll be able to enter and exit such vehicles with ease. By the way, the car asset that I will use in this video comes from the Canny Car Kit pack. Go check them out if you need any free assets or useful tools. The simple solution that I chose to implement relies on the interaction system I showed in this earlier tutorial, so you might want to see it to catch up. If you're feeling confident, here's a short resume. We have two classes, interactable, from which every interactive object will inherit from, and an interaction controller. The former will be attached to the camera and will shoot a ray in its forward direction to check for interactive objects. If an interaction is available, pressing on a specific button will trigger it. Now on to today's topic. When the player approaches a vehicle, the interaction manager will check for a possible interaction. The vehicle will be equipped with a special component that, when the interaction button is pressed, will deactivate the player and change its transform's parent in order to have it follow along. If the interaction button, that in this case we'll use to control the car interaction, is pressed again, the player will be dropped off always at the same position relative to the car, just if they are coming out of the same door. Seems like it makes sense to me. I'm going to create a new mono-behavior class that I call Vehicle. As I said, it's gonna inherit from my previously declared interactable class in order to gain access to the interaction system. In the class fields, I'm gonna declare a public bool. We're gonna use it to simply check if the player is on board of the vehicle or not, but depending on your game, you can use it to check whether to play some animations, sounds, turn lights on or off, and more. Then I'll reference a transform that will place where the player object is gonna be respawned after getting off the vehicle, and this will also be the parent of the player's transform as long as they are on board of such vehicle. One more thing we're gonna need is reference to the camera that is gonna be used when on the vehicle. The reason why I'm keeping this strictly as a game object is that I'm later gonna add Cinemachine to the project to have smooth camera transition. Just wait for a small treat. The last field I'm gonna add is a reference to the player's game object. I'm gonna set it manually, but you might want to automatically get it to avoid having to assign it to every vehicle in your scene. We're gonna declare a public void enter vehicle method. The first thing we're gonna do is set player onboard to true. Then we're gonna set the player object transforms parent to the drop-off point, deactivate the game object and set its local position to 000, so that later it will respawn exactly at the drop-off point's position. After that, we're gonna activate the vehicle camera in order to see the game from the desired perspective. This is where you might want to come in and add some instructions depending on your game's actual vehicle control system. In this project, I don't really have one, so I'm just gonna leave it as a comment here. Once we're done with the enter vehicle method, let's create another one with the same signature called exit vehicle. First thing first, this time we're gonna need to set player on board to false. Then we're gonna set the player transforms parent to null and reactivate the game object. You might also want to deactivate your vehicle controller here, so I left another comment since in my project I have none. After that, we want to deactivate the vehicle camera object to switch back to our player's perspective. The last line you see here, you might not need. I added it to ensure compatibility with my first-person player controller, a tutorial to which I have on my channel and that you can download from my GitHub page. The very last thing we need to do is override the interactable classes on interaction method and have it so that it will call enter vehicle if the player is not on board and exit vehicle if they are. Now let's go back to the editor. Okay, so the setup for this one is really simple. I'm gonna have my vehicle object at the collider and I will also attach the vehicle component. I'm adding an empty child and position it where I want the player to appear when exiting the car, and the camera child that position behind the model. I'll manually set the player object reference and I'm done. If you haven't seen the entire interaction tutorial, I have a UI button that will call the interact method from the interaction manager, which is placed on the camera. Let's try things out. Nice, everything is looking alright already. But let's now add Cinemachine to a project to make the camera transitions look a lot more professional. Let's go to the package manager and install Cinemachine from the Unity registry. Then, we're gonna need to add a new virtual camera, and despite my difficulties on video, simply place it where the first person camera is and parent it to the player. Now we can drag out the main camera from the player hierarchy, and let's do the same for the vehicle camera. Let's delete the old one and adjust the settings and position. You might also want to lower its priority to make sure the player camera is always shown on top of it. Today we are not gonna focus on custom transitions, so we're done. If you want a more extensive tutorial on Cinemachine, let me know down in the comments. I'm playing with it in my personal project, so I might be able to make something out of it. Let's just try it out and see how things look now. That was it. It was a very simple way of implementing the system, and depending on your game's needs, you might want to tweak it or expand on it. If you have any requests, ideas or doubts, feel free to share them in the comments below and I will try to read all of them. This said, thank you for watching. I've been Peter, and if you decide to stick around, see you next time.